For years, LinkedIn was a platform that connects professionals and all kinds of businesses. In this video, you will know exactly how to set up your LinkedIn profile to build a personal brand and position yourself as an expert. And even more, you'll get a step-by-step process of how to leverage your LinkedIn profile to find your ideal clients, connect with them, and sell. It's all related. I invited a special guest for you today, John Nima, who has personally rewritten and optimized the LinkedIn profiles of A-list entrepreneurs, best-selling authors, business coaches, and consultants, including Chris Brogan, John Lee Dumas, Mary Smith, Tom Ziegler, Dan Miller, Ray Edwards, and others.
The core concept, the core lesson I want people to get of how does this work, how to use LinkedIn to get business, it's really about understanding how to use an online tool like LinkedIn to replicate offline, real life, face-to-face behavior. So just a quick example, if you and I were meeting and I wanted to sell you a product or service and we met for coffee to kind of get to know each other, I wouldn't immediately say, okay, I've got these services I would love to present to you and ask you for money. And like you wouldn't try to marry someone on the first date professionally, right? You would do some icebreakers and professional courtship and ask questions. And that's really the core behind this whole strategy is using LinkedIn to find and engage your ideal prospects and clients, the exact decision makers who want or need your product or service. But then really the secret sauce is in how do you do that? Because I think a lot of people listening right now or watching are like, I'm on LinkedIn. I get spam every day. Everyone's trying to sell me something. Everyone wants 15 minutes of my time. These random strangers are trying to get me on the phone. It's just ineffective. And it's not how we like to be marketed to in real life. And even in 2012, what I was able to realize was I can find these people, but then there's some core things I've got to do with my LinkedIn profile, with my LinkedIn messages, with my online approach to get them interested in me. And that's where we can kind of get into some of the tips if you want for the listeners and the viewers.
Exactly. That's what we want. How we can get there.
Well, I'm gonna keep firing. Okay.
Let's start with the very beginning. People need to find us somehow. Or as you said, we need to find them, but still we need to have this kind of a first impression. So how do we set up a LinkedIn profile? What should we start with?
Right. And this is still true today. The big mistake that 99% of people are making with LinkedIn and with their profile is they've set it up like a resume. So it's all about you. It's written in the third person like you're a celebrity or a pro athlete or a rock star, right?
Of course, I am.
Like, John Nemo has done such amazing things. And what I learned early on with that is nobody cares. Nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about me. One of the core quotes that I really love and that I've run my business by is from the book How to Win Friends and Influence People from Dale Carnegie. And he says, and he wrote this in 1936. So the strategies have not changed. He said, your ideal client, your ideal customer does not care about you. They care about themselves, morning, noon, and after supper. And what I realized with my LinkedIn profile at the time, it wasn't a resume. It was all about me and how great I am and my little company with one client, So I quickly flipped it upside down to what I call a client-facing profile. And so one of the core things you've got to do with your LinkedIn profile is understand this important tip, which is on LinkedIn, the riches are in the niches. And what I mean is you've got to really try to have your profile appeal to one or two or maybe three niche target audiences. If you try to be everything to everyone on LinkedIn, you'll be nobody to no one. And so what I meant was when I looked at my profile, I had one client who was a debt collection agency. I had worked in a trade association, one of my corporate jobs, doing public relations and then social media for debt collectors. So I knew the industry. This was my one client. They wanted marketing help. And I thought, well, I have a marketing agency. I could set up my LinkedIn profile to say, I'll do marketing for anyone, any business, right? I have all this skill. But what I realized was how powerful would it be if I just said, I'm the debt collection marketing guy. I'm going to focus on debt collectors on LinkedIn, connect with them. And when they looked at my profile, it was all about them. And so here's what I mean. With your LinkedIn headline, you don't want it to be your job title and all about you. Like no one cares that you're the CEO of your company or whatever it is. What they care about is what can this person do for me? So when I set up my profile for my niche audience, debt collectors, my LinkedIn headline, excuse me, it said John Nemo, debt collection marketing services. That was it. And so when I reached out to connect with a debt collector, the first thing someone sees when you invite them to connect on LinkedIn is your face, your picture, and then your headline. And if your headline is all about them and what you do for them, they're interested. They'll pay attention. Oh, what's in it for me if I connect with you? So when they would get an invite from me, it would say John Nemo Debt Collection Marketing Services. They'd be like, well, I'm a debt collector. I'm looking for marketing services. Sure, I'll connect with this guy. Let's see what he has. And then the other thing is you keep the whole profile flowing that way. So the first sentence of your LinkedIn profile, really important. It's the first thing people see after your headline. Most people have is, I am a this, I do this. Instead, I changed it to this one sentence that anyone right now can utilize to immediately change the tone of their profile. And it says, what I do, I help, and then you insert your target audience. I help this target audience achieve or get, and then you put in some benefits they want by providing my product or service. So for me, it said what I do. I help my target audience. I help debt collectors, and then I put in benefits they wanted: increase sales, win new business, and improve their reputation online by providing industry-specific debt collection marketing services, website design, et cetera, et cetera. So now when I went out and connected with debt collectors on LinkedIn, they saw the profile and it said, John Nemo, debt collection marketing services. What I do, I help debt collectors get what they want by providing this services. And so that's this whole template that I create, this client-facing profile, where it's all about the prospect. So it's what I do, who I work with, what others say about me, what makes me unique. And you just use these kind of little headlines or call to action phrases, all capital letters, what I do, how I do it, what others say. Because when people read on LinkedIn, they're just scanning up and down very quickly, and you've got to immediately catch their attention. The core principle behind this client-facing profile is, what's in it for me if I'm a prospect and you want to connect with me? Why would I care at all about you? Remember, there's 700 million professionals on LinkedIn. They're adding 2 new members every single second. Everyone's competing for attention. Nobody is interested in anything except solving my own problems, right? So when I get invites from people where it says something about them, it's, how's that going to solve my pressing issues? I don't care, ignore. That's the core behind this first principle.
But why would you repeat the same one, the headline and the first line? Doesn't it look like you double same things?
I want to use the name of my audience as often as I can. So debt collection marketing services is the headline. What I do, I help debt collectors. How I do it, I help debt collectors, so that they see their name over and over and over again. Because everyone wants to feel like you've walked in their shoes, you understand me, you understand my industry, you're hyper-focused and hyper-tailored to me. And so you don't like copy and paste the exact same phrases, but you use their name, their terminology, their industry type throughout your profile. And now once you've done that, that's that first step. I call it the 3 Ps: profile, prospecting, and profits. The first P we've kind of covered is profile. Now the second P is really the prospecting, because when you think of LinkedIn, 700 million members, they've got data on all 700 million members. So it's literally the world's biggest search engine for business-to-business leads. You can use LinkedIn's internal search engine to find your exact decision maker. So you literally can filter by where they live, their job title, their company, their industry, how long they've been employed at a certain place, where they went to university or college or school. You have all this data that you can reverse engineer and search on. And this is where LinkedIn really is powerful, because this prospecting step, once you understand how to use LinkedIn search properly, you can create a ready-made list of your exact prospects. And that was the other reason I was able to win so much business so quickly, was I was going right to the decision makers. I wasn't spending time with gatekeepers. I wasn't butting my head up against people saying they're busy, they won't take your call, they won't take your message. I was going right to the individual LinkedIn profile of the owner of the business. So they can make the decisions, they can engage. And when you do that well, you build that list of your prospects. Now we really move into what I call the profits. And this is where honestly, 99% of people are failing still. It's because they're not understanding. Think about your own LinkedIn experience. For everyone listening and watching, how often do you get those messages from random people you don't know asking you for something? I want your time. I want your interest. I want to offer you a loan. I want to give you this or tell you you should buy this. And it's like, you don't know me. I don't know, like, or trust you. We've got to warm people up. And so, for example, I just had a lead today, an owner of a business, that I looked at his profile and I took 30 seconds and I saw, oh, he went to university near where I live and he played American football at that university. Great. I know the school. I know the football team. I can see the prospects, the owner of a business. I want to sell him my LinkedIn lead generation services. But I don't start with that. I started with, hey, Jim, great to meet you. Great to connect on LinkedIn. I see you played American football at this university. How do you think the team will do this year? Right. So I'm practicing some professional courtship. I'm using icebreakers to kind of ease into the conversation. And it's something he's interested in. Remember, he put on his profile, I'm proud of the fact I went to this university and played football there. So you start with things that they're interested about, just like real life when you're having coffee. Are you married? Do you have kids? Where did you go to school? What are your passions outside of work? And so now I'm warming him up with some just, personal one-on-one engagement. And with LinkedIn, what I really tell people in the profits section of the trainings and books and courses I have is the money is in the mailbox. Everything on LinkedIn, if you're in it to win clients and win business, spend all your time with one-on-one LinkedIn messages. The money is in the mailbox. That's where it is. It's not in publishing tons of content. It's not in posting 50 status updates a day. It's not in uploading 100 videos every week. It's in the mailbox. Because at the end of the day, we're still talking one-on-one to other human beings. And the way that human beings like to do business is relationally, correct? We want to know you and like you and trust you and feel a good connection and feel like not only do I like what you're offering, but I like you. I feel like we're friends, or I feel like a good connection. And so what I do is I use the LinkedIn mailbox, the one-on-one messaging, to help people get to know, like, and trust me. And the way LinkedIn has set this up, if you notice, especially, I don't know if we're doing video, if everyone will see the video, but I'm holding up my mobile phone right now. And with LinkedIn's mobile app, you can actually send little video messages inside of one-on-one messages. So with this new connection I made today, who played American football at this university where I live, I can send a little message and say, hey, show me your football trophies, right? Good to see you. I just want to put a name with a face and have them on my phone. Send a video message. You can send little voice memos. You can send photos. They want you to try to replicate real life one-on-one behavior as much as possible inside your LinkedIn messages. And once you do that, once you break the ice and get people warmed up, and again, LinkedIn gives you all the icebreakers. They tell you, here's where the person lives, here's where they went to university or college, here's where they volunteered. You start breaking the ice, asking them about their favorite topic, which is themselves, right? And they're like, yeah, I'll tell you all about my glory days playing American football. Oh, wow, this is great. Now, what happens is you can now ask permission to try to sell a product or service. So I have a very permission-based approach once I break the ice to say, hey, also curious, you ask a question, curious, are you interested in finding new clients with LinkedIn? Are you interested in blank? Are you interested in having your website show up higher on Google searches? Are you interested in, growing your brand online with social media marketing? Are you interested in winning more fans on Instagram? Are you interested in whatever the topic is that you want to sell them to? So are you interested in blank? And then you say, the reason I ask is I have a great free piece of content or free idea or free training. So are you interested in winning new business on LinkedIn? The reason I ask is I have a great free on-demand webinar, ebook, blog post, podcast, whatever it is. If you like, now you ask permission. If you like, I'm happy to share a link. If not, no worries. And that's a typical one-on-one LinkedIn message I use that really gets people engaged. Because again, if you think about it, I've broken the ice, I've warmed them up, we're talking about non-work stuff, And then I'm pivoting and asking permission. I'm qualifying them. Are you even interested in what this topic is about? Are you even interested in using LinkedIn to do this, or winning business this way? If you are, I have something free of value that will help demonstrate my expertise and authority instead of me just claiming it. That's another big thing is a lot of people on LinkedIn will claim authority, right? I'm a guru, I'm a ninja. Well, yeah. Like, I'll make you $1 million. Just give me 15 minutes of your time. I'll find and save you gazillion. Like, no one believes you. Everyone claims authority. Baloney. Show me, demonstrate, prove it. So that's why you need a little bit of content to say, let me demonstrate some expertise and help you solve a problem, show you I know what I'm doing, but I'm going to ask your permission. I'm not just going to assume you want a link to my webinar. I'm not going to assume you want a link to my ebook. And people like that because they don't want to be sold to. They want to tell you that they want to buy something. And this is really the whole philosophy. And it works incredibly well because you're acting like you would act in real life. Like if you and I sat down in a pub or sat down for coffee or lunch, we would break the ice, we would get to know each other, and then I would ask you a bunch of questions. Tell me about your business. What are you interested in doing? How do you win your new clients? Are you looking to use LinkedIn to win them? Oh, well, the reason that's really powerful is these reasons. Here, let me show you an example of how you can do it. Oh, cool. Okay, tell me more. And that's how you do it on LinkedIn. And it works incredibly well. I just love the ability we have right now. I mean, you and I are in different parts of the world. We're talking live online. We can see and hear each other. Like we are in the greatest era ever to sell and scale and grow our businesses. We just need to know how to do it, right?
Mm-hmm. And for how long do you do this chit chat, and how do you manage that? It's like, okay, I added you on LinkedIn. I like your book. That was so interesting. What's next? We are on the different parts of the world, but
Right.
maybe you need something, and how will I keep up with the conversation? So we got the first icebreaker, and what's next before you offer them your content, before you try to sell them something.
Right. So the chit chat is very quick. I mean, it's basically a personalized invite based on where they live or where they went to school. And then maybe the first message or two is personalized. And then based on whether or not they respond, you have a little bit of engagement and banter. I mean, it's like instant messaging or texting. It's very quick and very easy. And it's not something that you're going to spend a lot of time on, just enough to break the ice, just enough to make yourself different than the 99% of other people on LinkedIn that just are hammering them with offers. Now, right away, I pivot to that permission-based approach. So I literally break the ice with you, a couple of chit-chat messages, and then I say, hey, also, I'm curious. Are you interested in blank? If you are, I've got this great free piece of content. Just reply yes or thumbs up is what I put in there, like the emojis, because I know they're on their mobile device, and I'll send you a link. If not, no worries. Have a great one. And then either they respond yes or thumbs up, and I send them a link to content, webinar, ebook, podcast, whatever it is. I get them off of LinkedIn and into my little ecosystem. Now they're on my email list. Now they're on my webinar. Now they're listening to my podcast. We're moving deeper off of LinkedIn with content. If they don't reply, or if they say, no, I'm not interested in that topic, I just say, great, thanks for letting me know, no problem. And I'll circle back in a few weeks or a month with a new message. And what I'll say is, hey, insert the name, hope the weather in Canada is, hope you're surviving winter in Canada, something icebreakery about what we did before. Also was curious, would you be interested in blank? Different topic, different idea, different piece of content. And that way you're staying in front of them with offering something of value and asking permission. And it's a template you can repeat month after month after month with a different piece of content. You're never asking for phone time or a sale or a meeting until they're engaging and wanting more. Because what I've learned with LinkedIn is your ask, whatever I'm asking you to do, has to be in direct proportion to the amount of trust I've earned. So look at this. If you read my book and you come to me on LinkedIn and say, hey, I really liked your book, let's connect, I know the context for a good conversation. You've read my book, so you know my backstory. I've demonstrated some expertise. I've shown you some things. Now I can make an ask of you that's pretty small and say, hey, that's awesome. Could you leave me an Amazon review? Because that'll help my book, right? Like, also, tell me more about your business. How are you going to use what you learned in the book? Or do you want to take the book further? I've got a great free webinar. Well, that free on-demand webinar leads to an online course. And that online course leads to coaching, and that coaching leads to a done-for-you program. So there's all kinds of different ways that I can move you through my funnel, but I need context for the conversation. And that's where the content comes in, because depending on how someone consumes your content, you know how much they know about you. And that's really the secret of scaling all this. Is if I was just to go on LinkedIn and do hundreds and hundreds of conversations a day where I had to explain my backstory and demonstrate expertise and try to tell people everything, I would get worn out. But if I create one good piece of content that explains it all, like this lead that I had today, he wanted to have a phone call. And I said, actually, it'd be better if you just go through my webinar, read my book, because that's my whole backstory. That'll show you I know what I'm talking about. That has testimonials. That will help you qualify yourself if you're a good lead, and it'll save me time, right? Like, use your content to qualify people. You need content, because content, it does a couple of different things. It demonstrates your expertise. It also helps people get to know, like, and trust you, because if you do content well, like we're doing on a podcast, they get to hear your voice, they get to see your face, they get to hear your personality, they get to, experience the real you, the human you. And when you do content well that incorporates all that, now people are more engaged. Now they feel like they already know you when you start moving into those deeper conversations. And that's really the name of the game, is having content that can qualify people to save you time, and then using LinkedIn to find those ideal people that you want to sell to, and having content to kind of have them jump through some hoops so that they qualify to want to work with you.
Mm-hmm. So we got to the whole selling, connecting process already, but let's get back a little bit to the very beginning and talk about how to set up a LinkedIn profile. And that's interesting that you mentioned that first you set it as you focus on debt collectors. It's
Right.
like very narrow, and people are afraid to be like that narrow. How many debt collectors do you know? Like, you work with one. Weren't you scared to narrow down to this particular?
I was terrified, but I got great advice from my brother-in-law, who's an entrepreneur and a multimillionaire at the time, and I said, I'll do whatever you tell me because you're successful, back in 2012. And he said, I've always been a fan of being a big fish in a small pond. He said, don't try to be everything to everyone. He said, when I look for a vendor to work with, I want a vendor who really knows my world and my industry. I don't want one who just will take anyone and everyone. I thought, that's really good advice. And he said, the riches are always in the niches. And so I thought, I have one client who's a debt collector. I know the industry because I worked for their trade association. I know the pain points. I know the issues and the challenges. And one of the things I knew about debt collectors was they would complain to me when I was at the trade association and say, we can't find good marketing vendors. They don't know us. They don't know our industry. They don't know the regulations. They don't know the challenges. They don't know the business model. It's so frustrating trying to hire a marketing agency. So I had that in my head. And the one client I had was the debt collector. So yes, I was scared. And at the time, there were only like 3,000 to 5,000 collection agencies at all in the United States. It's a very small prospect pool, right? And not many of them could afford probably what I wanted to charge either. But what I found was, because it was so hyper-focused on them, they were all ears. Because when I would connect with the owner of a collection agency, they would look at my profile and it was all about debt collection marketing guy, debt collection marketing guy, debt collection, debt collection, debt collection. And they would look deeper and we would start conversing, and they would be like, you really do know the industry. You really do know what you're talking about. You do have the bona fides we're looking for. You've got your client who says you're great, who's also a debt collector, So it very quickly led to more business, because I wasn't trying to go out and also get a dentist or a doctor or a grocery store, right? And so the riches are in the niches. I still do it today. When I market today, my LinkedIn training, I market it to business coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs, small business owners. I don't market it to sales professionals inside big companies. And I found with my own business was there was too much red tape and too many layers of people to convince to sell my online course to or consulting to. Whereas with my people, coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs, business owners, they're the decision maker. If they want the training, they'll get it. And so that's how I still niche myself, and I don't try to sell to big companies, and it works out better. There's plenty of business for everyone. And so you've got to know, if you're listening or watching, like, who's my audience? Who are people that I can, sell to, who will trust me because I've worked in their industry, because I've walked in their shoes, because I'm familiar with it, because I've had success helping people in their space. That's what I always tell my clients to look for is, well, what industries have you worked in? Because people will instantly trust you more if you can show you've worked in that industry, right? Like, oh, you've done it too? Okay, well, then you probably know what you're talking about. We can cut through the explanations and get down to it. And I think that really works well on LinkedIn.
But it's interesting that you mentioned that now you focus on entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants. That's already 3.
It's all digital. So you can pivot all the time. If I wanted tomorrow, I could focus on CEOs, right? Like the beautiful thing about LinkedIn is it's not set in stone. So what I did in 2012 and niched my profile, that doesn't look the same today, right? So, I probably focus mostly on business coaches and consultants. That's, if you look at my profile today, that's who I'm leading with. I attract a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners, but I don't necessarily focus on them. Here's the other big thing I want to share that is kind of a misconception about LinkedIn is a lot of people worry, well, if I only have 1 or 2 niche audiences or 3, what about other people who find me? And then they'll be like, well, he's not about me. Here's the deal on LinkedIn, what I have found, and it's changed since I first started, but 99% of your business on LinkedIn will come from you reaching out to someone, outbound. 1% is going to come from some random person searching LinkedIn and finding your profile. It's very much an outbound model, meaning you don't have to worry about that dentist who somehow stumbled across your profile. Like, it's a very small percentage of people are coming in that way to you. It's much more you going out, creating a list of people, inviting them to connect, messaging them. So because you're doing the outbound outreach to people, you control the lists of people you're appealing to and approaching, so you can match your profile to that list. So say you wanted to focus on dentists, you could redo your profile to niche for dentists, focus on that for a couple months, switch over to a different audience and change your profile. And that's how you can keep growing and growing and growing in different niches.
Doesn't it confuse your audience? One day you focus on one and another one on another audience?
It can. Yeah, it can. So you have to decide. I prefer you just stick with what you've got. But I'm just using that as an illustration of, if you had to change, you can. You know what I mean? Like, if you're like, oh man, I've got some new clients that are dentists and they're really lucrative and I want to expand that line of business, then switch and go into that line. But it really just depends on where you want to grow your business or where you want to stay focused. And that's the beautiful thing about it is it's all digital. So you can change and decide, and it's really based on you reaching out. So whoever you're reaching out to, you want to make sure your profile is facing to them. That's kind of the core thing.
Well, here's another thing. Like you mentioned, these 3 entrepreneur, coaches, consultants, or whatever you put there, those are already not like really narrow niche. There's 3 categories. And then also sometimes people may want to work with have completely different, they want to reach different people. Let's say, okay, let's stick with you. Consultants, coaches, entrepreneurs, you want to do service with them, and let's say you want to do speaking. There's 2 different people you will approach. How would you do this? How would you put this into the profile?
So what I would say is I always look at LinkedIn as just one tool. So my website doesn't have to be the same as my LinkedIn profile. My Facebook strategy and Facebook pages don't have to be the same. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, I just look at it as what's 1 or 2 audiences I want to get on there. So I don't necessarily, I don't necessarily think of LinkedIn as I've got to have every single service I do and every single audience I serve on LinkedIn, and it's all got to be connected, because you're right, you'll confuse people and overwhelm. So what I do is I look at it and go, what do I really want to use LinkedIn for? I do a lot of speaking, but I don't use LinkedIn for it. I use other platforms for speaking and trying to find speaking gigs when I want to, right? Podcasts and being a guest on podcasts and things like that. So when I do it, I narrow my LinkedIn strategy to say, what are a couple core products or services I want to sell using LinkedIn, and who is the audience on LinkedIn I want to sell to? And that's just one marketing strategy of the whole business, right? I'm using my podcast for something else. I'm using YouTube for something else. And so that way you can kind of narrow it. Simplicity will set you free. Like, you don't have to overthink it and get super, it depends on your business, of course, but that's kind of my approach behind it.
So we got the headline, we got I guess this is summary where you write everything about
Yes.
what I do, who I serve. But in the beginning, you mentioned that everybody is superstar, and when you say, I am the best one who can help you, even if I'm the best one, didn't you say that people don't care about me? They're too much I.
So you have to set the stage this way. You have to explain in your headline and in your profile what's in it for the other person if they connect with you. And what's beautiful about this is the people that do connect with you have a need, have a desire, are interested in potentially having you help them. Otherwise, they wouldn't connect with you, right? They would just say, I don't need anyone that serves debt collectors, even though I'm a debt collector, forget it. But the key is, once you get them connected, now you have to do that work to build the relationship, build the rapport. You've got to break the ice. You've got to have some one-on-one banter, and then ask permission, right? Demonstrate expertise. You don't claim anything. Like, your profile does not claim. It just says, this is what I do. This is who I serve. If you have testimonials and case studies, great, put those in there. What others say, testimonial, John helped us get this many leads, whatever. But you don't brag, you don't use hype, you don't call yourself a ninja or a guru. Then when you connect with people, you personalize it and banter and chit chat, and then you ask permission. You offer something of value. Are you interested in this? If you are, I've got something that I think will be useful. Here's what it is. Would you like to see it? If so, great. If not, no pressure. And then people will qualify themselves. They'll say, yeah, you know what? I am curious about using LinkedIn to find leads. Send me the webinar link. I'll check it out. Now they go through, they're consuming more of you, your personality, your communication style. They're seeing how you demonstrate expertise. They're really enjoying it. At the end of the webinar, you can have a call to action. Want to learn more? Let's have a phone call. They've qualified. They keep raising their hand and stepping through your funnel further. And it's done in a way where you're not pushing anything on anyone. You're offering, and then they can keep saying, yes, send more, warming themselves up to the point where they're ready to buy.
And what about the rest sections? When you create a LinkedIn profile, there's like experience, awards, languages. There's so many things. What do you do with them?
Yeah, so I still use the same template for the experience sections. So if you've got, use the summary of what I do, how I do it. I use that same format in the experience as well. And then what you can do, for different lines of business, you can create different experience listings. So under one company, you can have 2, 3, 4 listings for the different services or products or whatever. You do it the same way. What we do, how we do it, how this helps debt collectors, whatever it is. Yeah, and then you can use, LinkedIn has a skills section and keywords. You can put the top 3 are what matter most, how LinkedIn categorizes you. But again, it's important to have a completed LinkedIn profile. It's important to list, have a chronological list of different jobs you've done so people can kind of follow your professional career. But they're much more interested in that top half of your summary, the headline, the summary, maybe the first most current experience listing. That's what they're looking at. And that's what they're deciding, what's in it for me if I connect with this person. And really, again, the money's in the mailbox. The money's not in the profile. The profile's just so that they'll connect with you and see that you're about helping them and how you can help them. The one-on-one messaging is where you win them, is where you win the business. That's where you personalize it. Like this lead today that I met who plays American football, I'm going to send them a personal video in my office and be like, hey, here I am. Here's the snow in the background. Hope you're doing great. isn't this a fun way to communicate on LinkedIn instead of just messaging? Immediately, he sees me. He looks me in the eye. He gets that video experience of me being face to face with him. That sets me apart from other vendors, that sets me apart from other people in his network, makes me more memorable. The biggest sin in marketing is to be boring. The biggest sin in sales is to be boring. Be unique, be personal. What I always tell my clients is the number one advantage you have in the marketplace against the competition is you. It's your unique personality. It's your unique style of communication. It's your unique story and journey. Share that, get that across, let people get to know you, because you'll attract people who enjoy that. You'll attract the right type of customers, and you'll repel people who wouldn't be a good fit for your business. That's the beautiful thing about putting yourself out there on social media, and with LinkedIn in particular, is you'll attract the right kind of people. I am not for everyone, right? I'm very loud and goofy and crazy and yell a lot and tell bad jokes and jump around. There are certain people who love it. And I use a lot of 1980s jokes in my books and trainings, and joke about all these things and Vanilla Ice and funny stories. Some people love it, some people hate it. But if you hate that kind of stuff, and you hate the way I communicate, and you hate the way I train, it would be a nightmare relationship for us as client and vendor. So I'm glad that I repelled you and didn't waste time trying to convince you. And that's why you want to put your personality out in your content, and think of the people you follow online and you enjoy. Not everybody likes that person. Gary Vaynerchuk is one. I love Gary V. There's tons of people that hate him. He's just such a personality, but he's memorable, and you know who he is and what he does. And that's important. He's not boring. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Well, so many tips, John. I can talk more and more and more. But let's give to our listeners a little summary how they can apply that. So how they can set up their LinkedIn profile and maybe attract their first lead there. What would be the 3 steps that you would recommend them to take?
The riches are in the niches. Tip number 1. So pick a couple niche audiences. Tip 2, have a client-facing profile. And I have a free PDF they can download if they go to linkedinriches.com. You can get a free copy of my book, and then I have a free profile template too. That's tip 2, is the client-facing profile. And tip 3 is, when you find your prospects and do the one-on-one messages, break the ice. Practice professional courtship. Get them warmed up before you ever ask or offer anything.
It's kind of the cold calling at the first time, probably the feeling when you just start communicating with people about nothing, well, not nothing, them, and then you get better and better in that.
Yeah, it's just, people are human. If you wrote me a LinkedIn invite and said, "Hey, John, I see you're in Minnesota. Why do you live there? You're nuts. By the way, would love to connect." And I looked at your profile and it said, "I help online course creators get more clients." I would A, accept your invite, because I'm always looking for more clients for online courses. And B, I would respond and tell you how terrible the weather is, right? I would now be engaged with you.
Mm-hmm.
Then you would pivot to me and go, "Hey, you know what? I live in Florida. I would never live there. Good for you to tough it out in the winter. By the way, if you're interested in learning how to win more clients, we've got a great free ebook. Here's, if you'd like, a link." All of a sudden, we're moving further in. So it's not scary. It's not bad. It's not hard, because you're just asking permission. You're being polite, and you're asking permission. And no one's going to get mad if you're not force feeding them links, offers, and the only time you're going to get people mad is if you connect and say, "I'd like to book a free 15-minute discovery call to discuss mutual synergies," or whatever. No one wants to do that, right? No, I don't know you. I'm not getting on the phone with you. That's crazy. Let me decide if I want to learn more about you. And that's the magic behind all of this.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic, John. Thank you so much. And how people can find out more about you, connect with you. And for sure, my dear listeners, you need to check this book if you're serious about LinkedIn.
Yes. So I will give everyone a free copy of my book. I'm holding it up for the video, LinkedIn Riches. I just revised and updated the whole thing. You can get a free audiobook version or the digital copy at linkedinriches.com. You just opt in and get the whole book right away. You can find me on LinkedIn, find Nemo, get it, like the movie. So John Nemo on LinkedIn. Those are the 2 places that I'll be, and would love to hear from your listeners.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, John, for being such an amazing guest on the show.
Thank you.
I hope you get new insights on how to set up your LinkedIn profile and get more clients from LinkedIn. If you enjoyed this video, like it, make sure you subscribe to this channel and click that little bell so you will get notified about the new videos. And leave me a comment below. What do you use LinkedIn for? Connecting to people, finding clients, or something else? I'm curious.